Welcome back to the Bourbon Retriever. My name is Chris, and today we're talking about part two to my latest bourbon haul. And the bottles that we're going to be talking about today are the bottles that I got at the end of the year when all the big name distilleries dropped their big bottles. But what did I get? Let's jump in and find out. So I posted part one of my bottle haul earlier this week. If you missed it, I'll leave a link up top. But let's go ahead and jump into the list here because there are quite a few. We're going to start off here with a couple of my barrel picks. We have the Dream Spirits, we have an E.H. Taylor single barrel that I was a part of, and we also have two Reveries here, a 17-year and a 7-year-old. Let's see here, where should we start? We'll start with the Reveries. The 7-year, this is a 7-year-old Bardstown, and then the 17-year is a Buff Turkey. We ended up calling these Wild Turkey one the Wild, and the other one is the Golden. After my sidekick, Watson, I decided to call the Buff Turkey the Wild because a little history on the Buff Turkey, I'm sure you've heard about it, but if not, for those of you who don't know, Buff Turkeys are whiskey that was distilled at Buffalo Trace using the Wild Turkey mash bill and then stored at the Wild Turkey distillery. Now, the two profiles for Buff Turkeys, they're ones that taste much more sweeter, like a Buffalo Trace, and then there are others that are much darker, richer, much more oakier forward, which reminds me more of that Wild Turkey funk. We picked two of these Reveries, and this one here reminds me much more of that Wild Turkey funk, so we called it the Wild. We have another one coming out in about a month, and that's called the Trace, and that reminds me much closer to like a Buffalo Trace profile. That one was a much smaller yield. I'm gonna do my best to get bottles for the channel, but if you're interested in these barrel picks, check out my Patreon and my Discord. That is where I will post information on future barrel picks. Now, the other Reveries bottle we have coming out at the same time is a 10-year MGP bottle. Probably one of the better MGPs that I've had in a long time. It is a really, really good bottle. So if you're interested in those, definitely check out the Patreon. Other bottle here is the E.H. Taylor single barrel that I was a part of. We did a really cool label on this. So basically we called it the Warehouse C Flood Survivor. So we picked these barrels prior to the historic awful flood that happened in Frankfurt. And there was concern if the barrel survived, but lucky enough that barrel did survive the flood. We did alter the logo here on the left. Typically it's just the Warehouse, but here it's underwater a little bit. But the reason we call it out Warehouse C is because that is the warehouse that Colonel Taylor himself built at the distillery, and that is where some of the best E.H. Taylor single barrels come out of. Now, unfortunately, I was not able to secure any of these for the channel, but slowly some of these bottles are still being released from the liquor store that did the pick. They're gonna be part of their monthly loyalty report program. So if I'm able to snag any of these in those programs, I'm gonna be putting it up on the Patreon and hopefully getting one of my lucky subscribers a bottle of this. Now, the last pick we're gonna talk about here is the Dream Spirits. This is an 18-year-old Bardstown barrel. These really came on the market with Calumet 18 really blowing up last year, and I really wanted to do a barrel pick of those barrels because it was some of my favorite whiskey that came out this year, and this is a special bottle. Dream Spirits had a ton of great barrels, and all the barrels reminded me of Calumet, but they were missing slight aspects that I loved about the Calumet 18, whereas this Dream Spirits was completely off profile from the other Calumets. And this bottle to me is a much more older aged oak, a dusty oak from a bygone era. It's much softer and sweeter. Like, it's basically like a Evan Williams 23 type oak. It's not bitter, it's not harsh in your face, but it reminds me of a Dusty from a very, very long ago. Now, if you missed the initial wave of this, I still have one, maybe two bottles left. So if that's something you're interested, reach out to me, email, Discord, Patreon, and we'll see what we can do on that front. Now, this next bottle is probably the coolest bottle on the list I'm gonna talk about today. And it's not so much for the bottle itself, but the story behind it. And it is the George C. Stagg from 2024. And as you can see, a lot is missing in this. And I'm telling you, I personally have not had one drop out of this bottle. So I got this bottle from my friend's dad. Here in ABC, they do an online lottery, and they just basically, if you win the lottery, you get access to the bottle. It's no lining up, no paying secondary. It's just you put an entry form, and then they draw out names to go buy the bottle. So he won it. He went and bought it, and he saved it up and took it to his buddy's fishing trip, and they crushed this whole bottle in about 48 hours. And what I loved about the story is these guys aren't making them trophies on their shelf. It's just a bunch of guys enjoying the whiskey as it's meant to be. A lot of times I catch myself opening a bottle, pouring a very small amount of it, and really trying to save it instead of just sit back and enjoy it for what it is. And it was just a nice breath of fresh air to see people today enjoying whiskey as it was meant to be, celebrations with friends, and really not worrying how much gets drunk out of it. So when I was home for Thanksgiving, my friend's dad offered me, knowing that I'm a little bit of a bourbon enthusiast, and he wanted me to have the rest. So I had to find a time with a couple friends and finish off this bottle as it was intended to do. And I'm just super grateful to get this bottle because this is probably one of my favorite George C. Staggs that they've released in a while. 2024 was a very, very special pour, and one that I cannot wait to finish the job on. To help speed this along a little bit, I'm going to talk about the next three together, and it is just a traditional Weller 107, a Weller Special Reserve, and a Weller 107 store pick. So this is my first Weller 107 store pick I've ever gotten. It's been a bottle I've been hunting for the last 4 years or so, and this is the first one I've got, and it was in the Virginia ABC drop. Basically, it wasn't a normal drop. It wasn't on a drop day with all their allocated products. Basically, it came in the store and they just put it straight in the shelf. They did limit it one per person, and saw that they were released, went down the store and grabbed one at open. Now, the thing about Virginia ABC is they don't always go and pick the barrels. A lot of times they might get the reject barrels, or they get the last of the lot that weren't selected in the single barrel program. And I think that's what this barrel might be, because it is the most off-profile Weller 107 I have ever had. It reminds me of more of like a tropical fruit punch. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Like, it is a fantastic whiskey. It's just not a Weller 107 at all. I think this was in an NDP bottle. It'd probably be one of my favorite pours of the year, just because of how off profile and wild and wacky it is. But when you see this label and you go take a drink of it, you're just gonna be taken aback, because it is just not Weller 107. I can definitely see why a lot of groups would pass on this when they're picking a Weller 107 bottle. The other one here is Weller Special Reserve. The reason I got this, I'm gonna be honest, it's a little dumb, and it's because they have a new cork on it. I have the screw chop below, but I wanted to get the cork one. It's the new bottle, look good in the lineup here. They just released this year. I have not seen it before that. There's some reports of the Weller 12 also being a cork now, but I've only heard of that international, nothing domestic. If you guys see Weller 12s domestically, leave a comment below. That's something I'm definitely interested in. I'm glad that they're switching to corks. I think it's going to help preserve the whiskey better. It's going to just make it also look better as a lineup, having all the same kind of bottle shape. So I think that is a really cool and right step in the direction. And then lastly, here is a Weller 107. I got this at a drop day at Esquire, about once a month, sometimes less than that. Esquire will drop a list of allocated bottles, and to get them, it's first come, first serve, and you typically have to buy a store pick or something else. It's either one or two, depending on how like valuable the bottle is. But I went in, bought Bardstown Weeded. I just ran out of it, so I got that, and I got this with it. I think it was a great deal. Again, two great weeded bottles. Didn't have to get there that early. I think I got there maybe 30 minutes before open, was able to snag this. So definitely worth that time and effort to me, especially when it was a bottle that I already wanted. Coming in next is the Lot B from the Van Winkle Distillery. These are distilled at Buffalo Trace. I think any other list, this would be the pinnacle bottle, maybe the pinnacle bottle on like 2 or 3 bottle haul lists, but I think in this list today, it's just gonna be like middle of the pack with some of the bottles that are coming in later. But I'm super grateful to get this bottle. I got it as allocation for one of the months at Esquire. I was the top spender, and this was the top bottle, and I grabbed it. Super excited to have this because now it's my backup to the open one. So again, this is gonna be much more freely shared with people who have not tried these products before. These are unicorn bottles, and honestly, they are lit up because of how rare they are to get and that they're associated with Pappy, Buffalo Trace, Stitzel, even though it's not Stitzel anymore. It's just a very iconic whiskey that people are chasing, and I just want them to give them that experience so they don't have this FOMO and go and pay secondary for these type of bottles. And to me, it's just a great bottle to share. It's one that most people don't ever get to own. They may get to try once or twice. So it's just a great bottle to give people that experience, because honestly, I can't drink it all, and it's just a good way to help others get access to it. And I also do my best to help fight the FOMO at every turn that I can. And while this is a great pour, it is not worth the secondary on it. Don't go out and buy a secondary for this bottle. You'll be, I think, disappointed for what you're getting. But it's still a good pour, a very enjoyable pour, and one that I'll be glad to share with people to give them that experience and help fight that FOMO just a little bit more. Okay, the next bottle on the list today is coming from the Whiskey Thief Distillery Company in Kentucky. And I'm telling you right now, this is probably one of the top experiences that I had last year. If you're ever on the Kentucky Trail, this is a must stop. You may not stop there because it doesn't have the brand name, it's not a bottle you've seen before, but their experience they offer there is basically what you would want on the Kentucky Trail. You go out to their warehouse, they have 6 barrels lined up on the ground. You get to drink all of them straight out of the barrel. And at the end, when you're done, you get to pick your favorite one and bottle your own. So I ended up bottling this one, and I don't know if you can see on the camera, but there are a ton of, what do you call that, wood char chips here flighting in, laying in the bottom here. And that's because you're getting it straight from the barrel. There is no chill filtering, not even filtering at all. It's just straight from the barrel, and that is where you get some of the best tasting whiskey. Overall, it's just a really authentic experience. You don't have to buy it well in advance. They don't sell out like the major distilleries do. And it's just a cool vibe. You could definitely spend a good half day there just relaxing. They have a fire pit out back with some chairs. You can smoke some cigars out there. They have a food truck. It is just a really good experience, and one that's gonna be a must stop whenever I go on the country trail with people who have not been on the trail before. And another thing about the barrels, they all have different mash bills, different ages, and it's just a cool experience to try all those different mash bills they have there. This one here was a 70% corn, 21% rye, and 8%, or is that right? Maybe 9% barley, 7-year. It says barrel number 2, so this is the second one in the lineup. This was a great pour. I don't remember what the prices were on these. I remember thinking they were fine. Like, I don't remember thinking they were like wildly overpriced or like a great value either way. You're really just paying for the experience, and I just loved being able to thieve this straight from the barrel and put it in the bottle myself. I think that was just a really cool experience, and I highly recommend it because you do not get that type of experience at basically any other distillery in Kentucky. So the next one on the list is a gift from a friend, and this is an Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C918. As some of you may know, my birthday is in December, and for my birthday, one of my close friends bought this for me because I am a massive Elijah Craig fan. It is what I cut my teeth on when I was getting into whiskey. It is probably the most on-profile whiskey to my palate. It is just absolutely fantastic. The issue is a lot of the older Elijah Craigs do not taste like the ones that are coming out today. So knowing this, my friend went and bought one of these older Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs. Super excited to have this. This has the 12-year age statement. The current ones do not have that. And beyond just the age, these taste very different from the ones coming out today. And this will definitely be one that we'll be opening soon and cherishing because it is just a great drinking whiskey. I'm really hoping we get back to these days of whiskey with the demand going down, with the glut of barrels, that we'll finally start getting older age product and just quality whiskey at a cheaper price. The next one we're going to talk about is probably one of the more underhyped bottles that I do not understand why it doesn't get more praise, and it is the Remus Gatsby Reserve. These are 15-year-old cast strength MGP, but the kicker is that they are all around 100 proof, which is just wild. For something at that age, had that kind of proof on it without adding any water. You're getting it the full flavor. Whenever you add water to a whiskey, it dilutes it a little bit, and that's the issue with some lower proof whiskeys. You're just putting so much water into it that you just are losing a lot of that whiskey flavor. However, this is straight cast strength, but it's at a lower proof where it's not just going to blow out your palate. You're going to get that intense wood flavor, and with it being a 15-year-old whiskey, you're gonna get all that oak impact, and these are just fantastic. They brought back the box here, opening up here. That's fine. The box is whatever. They can keep or take it, but the whiskey itself is absolutely fantastic. I buy this every year, and what's really cool is the price is now going down on it. I think last year it was 220, maybe-ish, This year it was under 200, which I'm all for. I'm hoping these prices continue to go down. But if you ever see these, I highly recommend you guys pick them up because they're just such a unique pour. You do not see that high of age statement with that type of proof for a cask strength whiskey. Definitely highly recommend it. It is right up my alley, and I would buy these every year. So the next one on the list is in the same vein as the Gatsby. This is also MGP whiskey, but it is 18-year-old. Also, I believe barrel proof. Yep, barrel proof, and this one is 103.2 proof. So very similar proof point to the Gatsby. Both barrel proof, low proof, and are MGP. What's cooler about the Remus is that it's a much smaller yield. This was only 2,000 bottles or so. And it was a bottle that I was debating buying a backup of, but this came out during dry January, and I wasn't drinking during dry January, and it was just hard to buy a backup without trying it myself. I try to only buy 1 or 2 bottles, have a backup a year, and to do it this early without trying it was just something I couldn't do, especially with the price point. These are a little expensive. I want to say it was somewhere mid-2s, I think was the price. Don't quote me on that. Look it up, but it was definitely somewhere in that high 2s-ish range. But it was a bottle that I just had to get. Again, right up my alley. High age statement, check. Low proof, that is cask strength, check. Sign me up all day for these type of bottles. I really just enjoy them. You get that flavor without that proof burn and hangover the next day. But definitely stay tuned. I'll probably do a review of Gatsby and the Remus. I don't know, for Gatsby and the Redemption. I'm debating if they'll be in the same video or not, are each separate. But if you're interested in that, definitely hit that subscribe button. But beside that, if you're enjoying the bottle haul video today and you want to see more content like it, hit the subscribe button. That way you do not miss whenever I do future videos, reviews, bottle hauls, news releases. That's probably gonna be my next video out, talking about the latest TDB labels that are coming out and would I buy them or not. Next is a bottle that I hunt every year. I go fight tooth and nail to make sure I get one of these releases, and this is Michter's 10. Specifically, this is 25G. Very similar to the other bottles. This is a nice low proofer coming at 90 proof this time, 10 years old. These are actually rumored to be much older than 10 years old. However, these are not cask strength like the others. They are proofed down, but I just love these. These are basically baby King of Kentuckys in my mind at much reasonable price point and acquirable. I was able to get this in one of the Virginia drops at MSRP, and I got the last one. I was super excited to get it. I thought for a strong chance there I was not going to get it and I was going to miss out on it, but lucky enough it was still there when I showed up, and I can't tell you how excited I was. It's probably one of the more excited bottles to get, even though the secondary is not that much wildly over it. The secondary on the Michter's products has come down a lot. The Michter's 10 Rye, Bourbon and Rye, but it's just a bottle that I find joy in and love, and a bottle I really just want on my shelf. If you see these anywhere close to MSRP, or be honest, anywhere like under $250, this is a must buy in my opinion. These are fantastic and ones I will always buy if I see under that $250 mark. So here's a bottle that you saw on the first bottle haul video, but this is the President's Choice Rye. However, this one is a different single barrel. This one is barrel number 15. I got this one at Costco. I think it was in December-ish or so. But I didn't have a Costco membership, so I had to go buy a Costco membership to get this bottle. But it was worth it because I think they were charging only $160 for this bottle, which is well cheaper than you'll see it anywhere else. So even though I paid the $40 or so for the membership, getting it for that $200 price tag is much cheaper than you will find it elsewhere. And this now marks my third President's Choice Rye that I have bought this year. I'm trying to buy as many of these President's Choice Ryes as I can this year because I think they put out a ton of their honey barrels right here at the beginning. They're much older than the press release said they would be, And I think they put out their best barrels here at the beginning just to build up the brand, build up the hype for these going forward, and get people to want to buy them in the future. So if you see any of these with a super low barrel number, anything under 30, definitely buy it for that like $200 price tag. I've been buying it up, and this was my rye of the year, so it's definitely a good one. There are gonna be variants. They're all single barrels, but of the 5 or so I've had, they've all been worth that MSRP, and several of them, in my opinion, are some of the best ryes that I've ever had. And the next one we're talking about is some people's favorite Russell product that came out this year, and it is the Russell Reserve Single Rick. This is Camp Nelson E. One of the cool things about this is the highest proof Russell's Reserve that Wild Turkey has ever released, which is a pretty cool thing to have. The kicker on these is they are very expensive, which hurts for a non-age stated product. I think that price would make a lot more sense if they could actually put an age statement on this, similar to how they have the Russell's 13, Russell's 15. But I got this bottle on the Reserve Bar when they released this on the Wild Turkey website, and I wasn't able to try it before I bought it. And with these type of bottles, you kind of have to buy them before you try them if you want to have a chance at getting them. There's not really a chance to just wait and buy it another day. So I went and snagged it so I'd have it. I have since then tried it and compared it to some other bottles, and I'm going to let you guys know I think Beacon is the superior pour this year. If you had a choice between Russell's Camp Nelson and the Beacon, buy that Beacon. The Beacon is special. The Beacon is a really, really good pour, one of the better turkey products I've had in a long time. That and Russell's 15 are the top 2 things they've done in a while. I think, to be honest, I think this is the pass at MSRP. I wish I knew that when I bought it. I wish I was able to try it before I bought it, because this is the bottle that I would have not bought if I was able to try it. But that's just how the cookie kernels with these type of allocated bottles. Sometimes you just have to pull the trigger before you really have full information on it. Next is my first media sample that I have gotten this year, and it's from Bardstown. This is the Bardstown Bottled in Bond. They sent me this because they are doing a new rebranding of their core lineup. The rye, the bourbon, the wheat, and the other wheat all are getting brand new labels. And the emphasis behind it is they're doing much bigger lettering on the bottle, so it stands out at a bar, on a shelf. When you're walking by and scanning, you'll see the nice big letters, and they should pop out to you more amongst the sea of bottles. But I think the thing that Bardstown missed in this bottle is eyeballs don't necessarily convert to buying the bottle. Just because you see it on the shelf doesn't mean it's going to cause you to want to get it. So this may become much more noticeable, but I think enthusiasts and novice people alike, when they're scouring the shelves for bourbon, they want something that looks like a bourbon, something that was made 100 years ago, that's been sitting in the ground, same level for decades type of whiskey. And this to me screams just very new age, almost like Costco Kirkland type, big, simple type of marketing. So we'll see at the end of the day if it actually ends up working out with them or not. But my opinion is I hope they go back to the old label, but that maybe I'm just an old man. Maybe I don't like change, and that is really the thing driving it at the end of the day. The next 2 bottles I'm also going to group together, and that's because they're coming from the same distillery, Jack Daniel's. The one on the left here is the new Jack Daniel's Toasted, and then here on the left is the Tanyard Hill Rye. This was my number 2 whiskey of the year. It was a bottle that I had to get. It was one of my top bottles of the year. I missed it in all the drops nearby, but I was able to get it through some other means. And this is coming in at hazmat, 140 proof, super dark. Like that is just straight amber. Can't even really see through it. Super happy to get this bottle. I try and get every Jack Daniel's special release because they're all hitters, and they're all very reasonable price, all in like that $80, $150 price range. Nowhere near what Campari or some other distillers are doing. I'm super excited for almost everything that comes out of Jack Daniel's. And what's really cool here is they had a limited edition product that killed, but they also made this shelf stable product that is equally as good. This Toasted is phenomenal, but I highly encourage you guys to look at the neck tag on this bottle because it has the barrel date and the dump date, so you can see exactly how old they are. They are all 7 years, but some of them are much older, and this one is an 8-year, and that is the reason I bought it. The other one I had is very low, almost about to run out. I saw this one was an 8-year, instantly went and got it. because this is a bottle I always want on my shelf with how good it is. I think it's the new standard for toasted and double oaks that are shelf stable type products. I think it beats the double oak. I think it beats 1910. This is a bottle I'm going to be giving to almost every novice whiskey drinker that is getting into whiskey. I think it's going to really drive right up their alley with just the sweetness that is in those pours without the high proof. It's just phenomenal. If you don't own one, definitely get one. I think it's good for novice and experienced people alike. The next is another George T. Stagg, except this one is a full one, and this is coming from 2023, so not 2 years ago. I got this in the December allocation from Esquire. I was the top spender again in that month. But this is a cool memento or memory bottle for myself because the 2023 George C. Stagg was the first George C. Stagg or any BTAC that I had owned a bottle of. And I cannot tell you how much like a kid on Christmas morning I was when I was able to get that bottle. It was... I was beyond words. I'm excited to have another one to help those memories live on. Okay, now we're gonna finish it off with my end of the year allocation from Esquire. It is E.H. Taylor, the new BTAC, and then Van Winkle 23. These are both iconic bottles that I was dying to get this year. The E.H. Taylor, because it is batch one, the first time they've ever released one of these. It is a 15-year-old bottled and bond whiskey, and I tried at Jack Rose here in DC. They had a tasting where I was able to try all the BTACs in one sitting, minus Sazerac 18. They didn't have that one, but the E.H. Taylor for me came in second place behind Eagle Rare. So it's a bottle I know it's not well loved. A lot of people gave it kind of negative reviews. I think it's mostly from the proof point. People want a little more proof behind it, but I thought it was a nice, elegant pour. Nowhere near worth secondary on it. It's not, I would say, a very unique pour. I'll definitely say that. I think the BTACs across the board this year were a little underwhelming outside the Eagle Rare. I think the Eagle Rare was the only one I think you could call truly special. But I'm just excited to have a batch one of a new lineup. It's very rare that you can get a batch one of anything. So to be able to get the batch one from this year, I think is just a really cool bottle to have. And then the other one here, this is basically the cream of the crop. This is the bottle that, better or worse, is the top of every bourbon hunter's dream. I personally never thought I would get a Pappy 23 ever, just with how limited these bottles are. Like this one's only 2017, so not many of these bottles get into the marketplace. And when you do see them, they're typically massive secondary pricing through the roof, and there's just no way they're worth it. I've never personally tasted 15, 20, or 23. However, I am doing a tasting in a week where I get to try every Pappy that came out in 2025. So I'm super excited to be able to try this specific bottle and to see, you know, in my opinion, does it live up to the hype. I know for Cam from Drums Drams, this bottle was in his top 20, which is really cool to hear because traditionally the 23s are just, from what I've heard, very oaky and just not that great, watered down. And the 15s are really where it is, the nice peak zone for those Pappies. Now, I don't think I'm gonna be opening this Pappy 23 anytime soon. I'm gonna be saving it probably for my wedding day. And I envision opening it, sharing it with my bridal party, and fully expect the bottle to basically be empty on that wedding day. So this is a bottle that I'll save for a nice special occasion. And I think it's gonna be a good bottle for that occasion because it is a low proof whiskey. So I think it's gonna be something that is gonna be appealing to even people who aren't massive bourbon fans. And it just has the label and the name. It is a brand that even the person who knows nothing about bourbon would recognize. So they'll all love it. And it's a bottle that I cannot wait to open and celebrate that day. So that is my latest bourbon haul. If you're enjoying this content, before you get out, hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss any future videos. And check out this video here. YouTube thinks you'll enjoy it. Until next time, cheers.